Momentous events are happening here in the U.S. and around the world, and President Biden staying off stage and out of sight. Politico putting it simply, where is Biden? A bit off stage from the main attraction. Here's Karl Rove to talk about it. Morning, sir. Nice to see you today in Austin, Texas.
Morning.
You got no Super Bowl interview, right? You got the bombings overseas. You had the jobs report on Friday, which, you could have gone out and bragged about it. The stage was there. And then you got the South Carolina primary where he was invisible. How do you see the strategy? Is it the right one?
Well, I see part of it. Look, if you've got really no contest on the Democratic presidential primary side, winning 96% of the vote in South Carolina, no need to jump up and down about that. Just let that process go. But there are big things that the American people want to hear from their president about. Well, they want to hear about what we're doing to respond abroad to the attacks on American service personnel in Jordan. They want to know what is going on in the Middle East. They want to know what is going on with Ukraine. They want to know what the priorities are of the president. So him being silent about all of these things is a little unusual. And missing the opportunity to sort of set a big message with his interview in the Super Bowl, which has been a sort of an historic norm for past presidents, is really unusual. So, I don't expect him to be out there every day, and I don't expect him to be talking about everything, but he ought to be picking out the things that are most important for advancing his own cause and for the country understanding what is going on in this dangerous world in which we live.
I'm not sure he's capable of doing that, Karl. I mean, do you think that he's possibly setting the groundwork to not debate the Republican nominee, especially if it is President Trump?
Well, first of all, you put your finger on it. By not doing these things, it raises questions of why you're not doing them. And the most easy explanation for us is he's too old and he's not up to it. Remember, 3/4 of the American people think that he is too old to be president, and nearly 2/3 of the American people think he lacks the stamina and mental acuity to do an effective job as president. So this is a problem. His absence from the stage, explaining what he wants to do and why he wants to do it, adds to these doubts about him. But yes, maybe he is laying the predicate for not debating Donald Trump. Maybe he's laying the predicate for, stepping aside. I don't know. But the fact of the matter is, when the president sort of disappears, as he has disappeared over the last couple of weeks, or lowered his profile, people begin to wonder why, particularly in a presidential election year where you would believe a president would seize the moment to lay out his message on something important to the voters.
I didn't mean to jump on you. I apologize about that. You have to think, if this is the longest campaign in presidential history, you have to think, what's Biden's strategy going to be? If Trump is able to vanquish Nikki Haley in quick order, what's his strategy going to be? Here's what Biden's done today. There was a time, Karl, when the media was talking all about this. You never hear about this anymore. The number of press conferences he has held, 33, compared to Trump, 53, and Obama at 66. And then you had this moment, and maybe this goes to your first answer, Karl. You had this moment in Las Vegas on Sunday. Watch.
Right after I was elected, I went to what they call a G7 meeting, all the NATO leaders. And I sat down and I said, America's back. And Mitterrand from France looked at me and said, how long are you back for?
So there were a lot of moments in that speech that
he had a conversation with a guy who's been he's having a conversation with a guy who's been dead since 1996, Francois Mitterrand, the former head of France. I mean, this is strange.
Well, maybe that's the reason why you see the press conferences so low, and they're protecting him.
Yeah, look,
that's the only thing that makes sense.
Absolutely. Absolutely, but and that's why you pick and choose. I mean, it's one thing to put him into a press conference where he's going to mess it up. It's another thing to put him out there in a political speech where he tends to get out of control and say things like that. Like I had a conversation with a guy who died in 1996 when I became president in 2021. But there are ways to control that. You can put him in. You can have him make remarks to the country. You can have him make a prepared speech. You can issue a prepared statement. You can have him answer a few questions from a reporter. But this is, the absence from the stage is just going to simply raise doubts about his ability to do the job. That's the biggest problem he's got. He's seen as weak and feckless in large part because he doesn't go out there and explain what he's doing and how he's doing it. And when he does do it, he does things like, I had a conversation with a guy who died in 1996 when I became president in 2021.
Karl Rove, thank you. We'll keep an eye on it.
You bet. Thank you.
Thank you, Carl. Nice to see you.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.